Good evening, free enterprise fans, and welcome to the final week of the Lali-Ho League Swiss rounds. I am Imps, and joining me on comms tonight is Xenocat. We have a race between Nightdew and PeasantsOMFG. Both are at 4-1, so both have made their way to the bracket stage at this point in time, but you know, you want to be the 5-1 one. You don't want to be the 4-2 one. There's still a lot to play for here. Zeno, how are you doing tonight?
I'm doing well, and yeah, being 4-2 is scary. You don't want to be at 4-2 because then you have to play in a whole preliminary round before we even get to the official round of 32 in the brackets. Because there are going to be more than 32 runners with a record of 4-2 or better.
Yeah, and honestly, with the quality of every player in this tournament and every player that's going on to the bracket stages, anyone that you're matched up against could be the one that ends up sending you home for the rest of it. So, you know, there's no pressure to get in the tournament, but there is pressure to stay alive once we hit that bracket phase.
Yeah, it does look like we have, I believe that is a Palom start, and our real objectives, I love those fake objectives, but our real objectives are getting Rosa and defeating Rubicant. What do you make of those, Ent?
I mean, Rosa's a white mage. White mages are white mages, always going to be helpful no matter when you find them. And knowing that there is, a white mage in the seed, if you're not comfortable running a white mageless team, it's going to be a pretty good thing to know. Rubicant, not always the hardest boss, can be rude in certain locations and against certain party setups, but overall I think these are objectives I'd be happy to see.
Yeah, I don't hate either of these objectives. Knowing there's a Rosa in the seed is very nice. I do like the balance of one character and one boss hunt, and Rubicant is not the worst boss to face, but it looks like our runners are off. Palom is joined by a Cid tonight, and that's a Golbez, giving us free reign into the underground.
So as a runner at this point in time, you have that magma key, you have that Palom Cid start, which is kind of a bit of a wash. Cid can be very helpful early on, but Palom sort of needs a bit to get going. How does that magma key start shape how you're going to approach the rest of the seed from here?
It's time to go underground and get a whole bunch of loot.
Fair enough. There is slightly better loot in those underground chests, so definitely a great place to go, especially if you want to go down, just run through the Fey March, maybe get another key item, see where the seed is going to want to lead you early on. Definitely probably want to go down there and get the Sylph Cave prepped and have that Sheila 1 check ready so you can double dip Fabul once you get there.
And it looks like both of the runners agree with me and are immediately dumping that magma key down the well to open up this underground.
Yeah, I mean, you might as well at this point in time. I would kind of have liked to have seen one sort of go for a bit of a trickier play, because I feel like at this point in time in the tournament, you're going to be evenly matched against whoever you're up against, definitely after 5 weeks of the Swiss rounds, and you got to think, maybe I should take a little bit of a detour around this and try and see if I can sneak something that my opponent might not be going for.
This is true. I am actually a huge fan of the loot Watery Pass a little bit anyway on this kind of start, just because Watery Pass is, normally the standard looting play, but if there's a magma key in play, a lot of runners will dive straight underground, but there's still some decent loot in Watery Pass, and who knows, maybe you'll want the Hobs character. Although with Palom and Cid, who are both very strong early game characters, Hobs' character is a little bit less important.
Yeah, and also another thing, having access to these underground shops, which are gated, do have a little bit of loot behind them. Definitely a good thing. And I also want to give a quick welcome to the raiders from over on the 8 o'clock match over on RPG Limit Break, and wish our resident composer, harpist, curator friend, Calm Lamity, a very, very happy birthday today.
Yes, happy birthday to Calm Lamity indeed. If you did not get a chance to catch that match, I highly suggest going back and watching it, but no spoils here.
absolutely no spoils, but I will admit that I was like 3 minutes out from this one and still watching the end of that myself, so.
I may have done the same thing.
But we're seeing a few
Yes,
shop checks here,
safety.
nothing particularly interesting.
Yes, Safety, bring up a good point in chat. Watch this race first, because this is going to be an exciting race. But then go watch that race, because that race is also exciting.
Actually, we are seeing peasants walking down the Fey March here and not bothering with those early chests.
Yeah, might feel confident in this team early on to just not need that much loot. We did see hourglasses in the Tamra shop, as well as our job dwarf checked on Nightdew's side as a financial analyst.
That financial analyst is going to be very sad in 2 weeks when we swap to the bracket flags and suddenly everything sells for 0.
Yeah, sorry, the entire economy has collapsed and money is now meaningless. Well, money is not meaningless, but nothing can be converted into money. So,
So that's Dr. Lugae and appear to be dark imps at the bottom of Fey March, and peasants picked up a few coffins in that shop, so that's definitely going to be on his mind as something to come back to later, as it looks like he's going to be heading out from here.
yeah, I don't hate this walkout because we're not super well set up to take either of those fights, but those are two relatively easy Fey March fights that I would not be surprised if our runners considered those fights before the moon, although that's a curse ring from that random chest in that Fey March there, so pretty big pull for peasants, as well as some Zeus gauntlets.
That was a loaded stack of chests there. I mean, that curse ring alone seemed to, at least to me, been the hot ticket item that everyone's been shopping for outside of Sirens and Hourglasses in this particular flag set. So getting one for free at that point, pretty good pickup, especially since that means, you know, you really don't have to worry as much about your agility situation later.
Yeah, that random grouping of chests in the actual town proving to be much better than that walk down to the Fey March, showing us a charm harp and a heroine robe, which is nice, but we don't have anyone who can wear that.
And another important note about this Fey March too is there is a pink tail in that chest, so that is half an objective out of the way already as well. So as long as our runners find that hook early on, they're good to go and get that bit of a power spike from that free item there as well.
For sure. The pink tail is very nice, as not only is it an objective, but turning it in will grant you one tier 7 item. And the tier 7 items are so good, we had to ban them from every other untrapped chest in the game, because they're a little bit broken.
Just a little bit. I mean, we don't have any Cecils to take advantage of a crystal sword if it comes out, or, I mean, I guess you could sell it if you wanted to at that point in time, but we don't really have many characters that are going to make great advantage of that yet, so that's going to be on their mind with that pink tail early as well, as who's at Hobs, who's in these other early character checks, but Peasant's going to head straight to Fabul.
Yep, makes sense. Took the time to set up Sheila 1, so has visited Young in the bed down at the bottom of the Sylph Cave, so there are now 2 key item checks in Fabul instead of 1, so you can get a little bit of routing efficiency there.
Yep, and that does lead to the age-old question that we haven't seen very much in this tournament so far, but I feel like we saw quite a bit more in a few other ones, is how long do you fade Antlion Cave for?
I mean, I'm never a fan of fading Antlion, but I know some runners are.
Alright, so we're about to see this turn in from Peasants, see what this key item is here on top of the Fabul Tower, and it does seem to be just a sword for a not in the seed yet edge.
Yep, just some Hanzo steel. Sid starting with a hand axe, that is complete garbage. We don't want to use that. May as well just slap the dwarf axe on that came in the starting kit. Palom starting with a dancing dagger, which is much better for his damage early on. And it does look like Nightdew is going to be stopping by Mount Hobs before heading over to Fabul. Might want to grab an extra character because while these 2 characters are great early on, they're not going to carry you through the whole seed, and having a third character could be very nice.
I might be seeing things, but I don't think Peasants healed before going here, and if he gets unlucky with only 1 health on both of his characters, this could be bad.
Oh no, this is fine. You get a full heal before this boss fight.
You do get a free heal here. I had forgotten about the free heal there, to be honest with you. But an evil wall in a not-so-rude location, definitely a good bonus. And Edward at a friendly location, a bit less of a good bonus.
Yeah, Edward is not the most exciting character, but we do have the spoon flag on, so if we find a spoon early on in the seed, Edward could become the best damage dealer of this party very quickly.
Yeah, it'll be a big question of whether or not Nightdew decides to keep that over. It does look like he's just going to take this Bahamut fight, because why not? Bahamut's probably going to be down before it can do anything scary, and if not, that's what you have Star Veils for.
Yep, but Bahamut, very free fight. With Dancing Dagger on Palom, this shouldn't be too difficult to get through, especially with Sid doing a decent amount of damage, actually, with some weapon that's clearly not a Dwarf Axe.
Nightdew picked up something in the underground in that set of Fey March checks that are helping him there, and I didn't quite see what it was because I was looking over at Peasant's side for a moment there, but chat telling me it is a poison axe, so yeah, definitely in a much better position than that Dwarf Axe, and a rat tail from the king.
Well, now we have all of the tails, so we'll be able to do a single dip of the Adamant Grotto once we get that hook.
And if our runners diverge and one of them finds the hook before the other one, that's going to be one of those things that could give someone a pretty big advantage early on in a hurry. But it does look like Knight 2 is going to head straight over to Fabul, and it does look like Peasant's going to head to Mount Hobs, so swapping places now.
Yep. Peasants is... We'll see what Peasants makes of this Edward up on Mount Hobs, whether he takes him for the extra body or not. Looks like Peasants wants nothing to do with that Edward.
Might be leaving that Edward there to possibly pick up and use as an anchor later as well, if he wants to just be able to pick someone up, replace someone, and head to a fight. Might as well leave the one at Mount Hobs, where you're just gonna come back later and hit fight once, and it will probably fall over.
Yeah, leaving an early anchor is not a terrible idea, although it's with the curse ring, it's not super necessary. But we might see that Edward just get left behind forever, because it's not worth the time investment to pick him up unless we find a spoon early. Especially with Evil Wall, one of the few bosses that is cheesable by Edward, out of the way at Fabul. But we do find Kenazo here in the Antlion Den.
Speaking of particularly rude bosses and easy locations, this is another good thing to find here. It means he's not going to be in one of those spots where he can just make real trouble for you, like basically anywhere late on the moon or the Leviathan spot or similar. And a tower key for the efforts is another pretty good pickup with that magma key already on the table.
Yep, that is a very easy check to do. It's a little bit out of the way, because it is in the lower tower of Babel, which has another check that is significantly less easy to do. But if our runners are feeling real desperate for just an easy check, that super cannon check has very little HP and is a little bit fast and hits a little bit hard, but has no magic as well, so could get lucky with a pretty free boss there.
And it's looking like Peasants is going to head back underground now. And it's looking like he might actually go, nope, going to veer off course there and go pop that siren, I think, that he found.
Yep, looks like just wants to get some levels on this Palom and Sid. This is a pretty good play. I approve. Palom needs levels to get good.
Yeah, and with those coffins that he picked up down in Fey March, going to just toss an item at it, get a free 34,000 XP, and get Virus up and Quake already on that Palom.
Yeah, turns out the Quack Kid, as we like to refer to him, is better when you learn Quack. Who would have thought?
And that's interesting because I don't think Nightdew was looting as heavily on his way down the Antlion cave, and that might be a pretty good advantage for Peasants early on, as it looks like he's going to head and check this Baron in now.
Yeah, I believe Peasants did find a samurai bow in the cave, which if he has any decent arrows, although Medusa arrows not impressing. Any decent arrows, that could be a pretty solid weapon for his Sid to counter a Nightdew's poison axe.
Yeah, and if not, I believe Nightdew was the one who found that heroine robe. Find that Rosa that we know is in the seed because she's one of the objectives. Smack that heroine robe on her and then give her a bow. She's going to do quite a bit of work early on as well. But, oh, speaking of other white mages, there is a Porum sitting behind a Mom Bomb here at the Baron Inn.
This is a rather rude Mom Bomb. Should be fine for Peasants with his Siren levels or the levels from that Siren fight that he took. But Mom Bomb, very rude here because this spot normally has 400 HP. Now it has 9,400 HP.
If you thought this fight was going to be a fun and easy one that you could get over with early, you were sorely mistaken here.
Yeah, sorry, this fight's not going to be fast. But both of these characters should have no issue surviving the explode. And Palom gets that Quake off pretty quickly, and goodbye all the bombs.
Yeah, that's going to be a pretty big advantage for Peasants, because Nightdew does not have the levels there yet, does not have the Quake, and speaking of bosses that Quake would be really good against if he still had MP on that Palom, here's Mylon and friends.
Yep, Peasants does have an Ether 1, so that should restore enough HP to get another Quake cast off. Meanwhile, Nightdew is through that Mom Bomb fight, hot on Peasants' heels, but is down a few levels.
Yeah, and leaving that Edward on the ground, and that character advantage is basically nothing to... I mean, not to say that Edward would necessarily be contributing that much at this point in time in the seed, but any advantage you might have had from doing that Hobs fight is effectively gone right now.
I mean, Edward has a dancing dagger. He can do damage. He can't do much damage, but he can do some damage.
Edward can do a little damage. Oh, there's a Darkness Crystal.
Well, hope you like wide open seeds.
At this point in time, I want to give a shout out to our restreamer Smapty for an excellent seed that's very open and probably going to be quite stressful for these runners at this point. As well as, of course, to our tracker Scythe Marshall, who's also behind the scenes pressing the buttons and helping us put on this show.
Indeed. This has been a heck of a start. And it does look like Peasants is going straight for that Darkness turn-in.
I gotta think that if you're in either of these runners' shoes, you kind of want that Moon character at this point in time, because just Sid and Palom's only gonna be great up to a certain point.
Yeah, Palom is solid for the mid-game, but yes, I would like more characters, please. Porum is okay. She can cast Berserk and Blink.
Yeah, once she gets Berserk and Blink pretty early, I've always felt like, so that's pretty good. But the question is, who you're Berserking right now, because it's kind of just Sid, so you probably want someone else to Berserk.
Yeah, someone else to Berserk would be nice. But yes, Porum learns Berserk at level 18, I believe, and Blink at level 23, both of which are a little bit earlier than the predominant white mage in this game, Rosa.
And I almost feel like with some of the seeds that we've seen, with how just power overwhelming you get late game, where the healing doesn't necessarily matter that much, the damage that you can output from your mage doesn't necessarily matter that much, so you're not really caring as much if you get to white. That Porum has almost been kind of undersold comparatively of the two white mages right now.
I mean, I don't hate Porum, although, hey Sirens, we found Sirens on the moon. Already value on the moon. Clearly the answer is let's go to the moon. We need to go to the moon. It's time to go to the moon.
I think we're going to the moon.
Yeah. I think both of our runners are going to the moon.
But going to different places on the moon, at least, and Nightdew is going to be heading into this Crystal Palace to see who the character is going to get there a little bit first, and I imagine they'll trade places right afterwards.
Yeah. One thing I did forget to mention when I was doing the little comparison of Porum and Rosa, Porum learns exit without having to do a specific dungeon.
How do you feel about Moon Cane right now? Because I'm kind of thinking we don't have the gear for Moon Cane yet.
We don't have the gear for Moon Cane yet. But we will find the gear for Moon Cane. Cane gear is usually not too terribly difficult to find on this flag set. I mean, I guess Cane can use that poison axe in an emergency.
Plus,
although,
I suppose if we
coming
find
with a silver knife. Sorry.
Yeah, I suppose if we find a Rude Val early on, then that's that taken care of a little bit too, if you want her swinging instead of casting things.
Oh, Nightdew has a Flame Spear. I approve. Flame Spear is superior to Poison Axe. Not really. Flame Spear is absolutely a worse weapon than Poison Axe. I will not try to justify that for a second.
But if Flame Spear is a weapon that Kain can equip that Cid can't, I think that's going to be about the only real judgment there at this point in time. Still not, in my mind, as good as the Spear, but it is close.
Yes, the axe is still on Cid. But Peasants is already back on the blue planet, heading up Mount Ordeals.
I mean, you don't get the side benefits of Mount Ordeals right now, and it's kind of just ends up being 3 bosses for a single key item at this point in time, and sort of an IOU for you will have better characters later if you find them. So I don't really dislike it, but I wouldn't be surprised necessarily if Nightdew decides, okay, maybe I'll go underground, maybe try and sneak through Dwarf Castle.
Yeah, it looks like Peasants was just checking to see if Medusa arrows were any good. They are not for attack power. They are great for their stone status proc on non-boss bit enemies, but if you're trying to use them for damage, you're not going to have a great time. And hi, Wyvern.
You hate to see it.
Yeah, that happens sometimes.
I mean, you'll be able to get through this now that he knows Wyvern is there. But that was just a little bit rude, and I guess it's better than to see the Wyvern at the front spot than the Wyvern at the back attack spot.
Yeah, well, actually Wyvern at the back attack spot is nice because there's a bit of delay programmed in so that you actually get your turns up before Wyvern gets a turn. But Nightdew, it looks like, is already going to be doing a grind.
I've got to feel like he's just going to run through the coffins that he has, maybe get that Porum up to the point where she learns Berserk and Blink and can just drop those on the Kain and the Cid, get the Kain a little bit going here, and then probably run through some of these underground checks.
Yep, has Blink, just learned Blink on Porum. It looks like he's rearranging the party at least. Setting up Cid to be an anchor with that Dwarf Axe and the Cursed Ring, giving him a -20 agility modifier. And there goes the Poison Axe onto Kain.
And meanwhile,
Because we
on
have
Peasant's
nothing
side,
better.
we have
That's free.
very, very free.
Hi, free. I know you're free, but still gonna quake you to death because I don't want to listen to your speech. Or at least Peasants does not want to listen to your speech. Speeches are slow.
Yeah, it's a very touching scene, and it's good to get that, but we don't have Edge. He doesn't need that closure right now because he's not with us. It's fine to just skip the cutscene in this case.
Yeah, we don't like cutscenes. Cutscenes take time. And that is just a package from Mount Ordeals, and an Antlion at the first spot of Dwarf Castle.
I feel like Antlion is one of those ones that seems like it should be easy here and then ends up just being surprisingly tricky.
Well, it's Edward nap time.
It's always Edward nap time, honestly.
He really needs to inspect that floor. Make sure it's good quality floor. You know?
I mean, it certainly looks like good quality floor. Can you imagine how much it costs to get this many like glass blocks to fill out an entire floor? That must be an extremely expensive castle to have built.
Yeah, this is like this is a large room too. That's a lot of crystal. I feel like they must have taken some shortcuts, which I guess is what Edward is thinking, and just trying to make sure that there's absolutely no flaws in this floor.
Yeah, and this fight's going pretty stably. I guess it's not too much of a problem having an Antlion here, aside from Edward, who's, it's unfortunate. But is going to get through that fight, so we are about to see who the character is here. And speaking of characters, wonder if Peasants is going to be tempted to go chase that package down right now.
I definitely would not fault a peek into the package character. It is a very quick check. Although it looks like he's decided that he does not want to peek the package character. Instead is going to go over and do a little bit more grinding. And the dolls decided to move not very far. And we have... is that multiple bits of different types of vanilla here? We have a vanilla Rydia and a French vanilla dolls fight.
Yeah, if Golbez wasn't in the castle, then he could have joined us for this straight up vanilla fest. But one quake and goodbye dolls. So Nightdew is through that check pretty quickly. Does keep the Rydia in exchange for that Edward.
I mean, we don't have a spoon. I guess Rydia could find an orb of some kind that could make her useful.
Peasants is going to head for this tower before going for Dwarf Castle.
I mean, there's 2 key item checks here.
Sometimes you just gotta chase that density and hope for the best. The only thing on my mind is whether or not Peasants might have wanted to try and find a 5th character for his party at this point in time, but I don't think he's particularly bothered by that right now. We're about to see just a Crystal Gauntlet for Dwarf Castle.
So Dwarf Castle, completely useless. Other than some experience and I guess a Rydia.
Rydia might be technically better than Spoonless Edward.
Well, I mean, Peasants has neither, so... I suppose it would be an upgrade to pick her up as, like, an extra body. But not sure if it's worth the time.
But we are going to see Nightdew also descend upon the lower tower here, going to make that climb himself. Peasant's going to go ahead straight to the top, it looks like, instead of bothering with the cannon room first. So we're about to see, and it is CPU up here at this Dr. Cutscene spot.
That is not the fight you want to see. This spot is known for having basically nothing but HP. CPU does nothing except percentage-based damage, and is really only annoying based on how much HP it has. This is not a pleasant fight.
It's also the question of what sort of damage are we going to be dealing to this right now, because that Palom is probably not going to be the most useful in this fight as well, although it does look like he's going to go with the bluff up and maybe Quake after strat.
Yep. But even these orbs have a bit of health to them. That defender not going down after taking 900 damage. And we do see Valvalis here in the Super Cannon room. This is slightly rude, but shouldn't be too much of an issue.
Yeah, Rydia just gonna go ahead and fire those arrows. I think, did Nightdew put the heroin robe on that Rydia?
I believe so. I think Rydia is going to be an angry adult woman for this seed.
Well, you've seen it here first, folks. You've seen Berserker Sid, Berserker Cecil, Berserker Kane, Berserker Edge. Get ready for Berserker Rydia today.
Yes, we don't want to have... Porum is too young to do the murdering, so we're going to have Rydia do it. Because she's grown up.
Mysteriously, in the span of like 2 days.
Yes, don't question it. Peasants is going for just the Quakes. Global 199 not hitting Palom, that's good.
I feel like anyone but Palom is the good target here, so even that Sid and that Kane taking a bit of a nap right now is not the worst thing in the world.
Yep, but 2 Quakes are not enough. And that remedy is starting to come out again for a bunch of hit points, but looks like Palom is going to try to Quake the CPU down. Still not dead.
Kind of interested in that he chose to heal up that Sid.
Oh no.
Well, this is recoverable. It's just a little bit scary for a moment, and just going for it still.
Yep, still just kind of YOLOing this. You might want to do some life pots because this Quake is going to go off, wipe out the orbs again, and or the orbs are gone. This works. I did a little mini orb grind there. Got a lot of experience. And there's Arcane Weapon.
Nothing like a fun game of CPU chicken at the top of the tower for a good way to start your underground adventures.
Yep, a little bit of a scary fight there, but Peasants is through. And, I mean, Kane can now hit things.
My question is how much faster will Peasants have gotten through that fight with that bluffed Quake on Palom hitting for 5k per turn versus Nightdew, who is taking a much safer route around this? Like, this can't actually pose any threat to him at this point in time, but it will be a bit slower because you're kind of just relying on chipping away the CPU 400 health at a time.
Yeah, Nightdew might indeed have a longer fight, although he is bluffing up for a Quake, so it does look like Nightdew will also be employing some Quake strats. That Quake just did 7,000 damage.
Well, never mind then.
That's a lot of damage for Quake. I think that might be the biggest damage Quake I've ever seen.
I think I saw a quad 9 Quake one time, but other than that, yeah, it's pretty close. And it was on something incredibly weak. So Nightdew threw that fight pretty quickly. And even if he had just gone for it too, you know, having those extra characters to absorb those globes would have been just as fine. And I gotta think that he's a little bit in the driver's seat right now because he is up that Dwarf Castle check on Peasants.
Yeah, he is up the Dwarf Castle check, but he has faded Ordeals. So Peasants is up that Ordeals check. So they've each done one kind of long check that didn't really pan out. Although Peasants, there could be some value behind that package in either the form of Rosa at that package, a Rubicant at the Kaipo in spot, or a cheeky D-Mist at the Kaipo in spot gating something. But it turns out
tower shirt is spicy.
that tower was the tower of nothing. The tower of power, I guess. We got some good power boosts to the party, but
well, this means that there's either a D-Mist lurking somewhere, or I think that might mean our progress is gated behind the moon. Or Fey March. Moon or Fey March.
Yeah. We've cleared out everything else this seed has to offer. And there's nothing. It's gotta be Moon or Fey March at this point.
Yeah, with Nightdew heading back to Ordeals, Peasants heading back to Dwarf Castle, they're kind of just swapping the dead checks that the other has done back and forth here at this point. I gotta feel like this order, just based off of what we got off of the tower, might help Peasants a little bit more than it helped Nightdew.
Yep. Tracker pointing out that we could have a D-Mist at Package or Mega Sisters. I am hoping for that. That would be fun. Yes, please.
Hey, we still have the hope of the hard required giant online right now, and you gotta think if it's looking scarily more possible here.
We do still have a lot of checks available. The moon has 7 key item checks on it, as well as the 2 in the Fey March, and that Fey March was not particularly rude. But while our runners are just cleaning up checks that we've already seen from the other one, I'd like to give another shout out to our Rydia streamer, Smapedy, our tracker, Scythe Marshal, our runners for putting on this wonderful show for us tonight. Nightdew and PeasantsOMFG. Give all those fine folks a follow, and shout outs to you, Ent, for being here in the comms booth with me.
Yeah, and shout outs to you as well. Great time so far, and looking forward to seeing how the rest of this lays out. I gotta think that what it's gonna come down to is both our runners are probably going to want to do Fey March before going to the moon. And I think Peasants will probably get there first at this rate.
I mean, we will see. Peasants is definitely positioned better to go right to the Fey March, as he's already underground. But Nightdew might be, since he's already on the overworld, might be inclined to just stay up here and kind of go up to the moon and avoid that Fey March. So we could have some interesting divergence.
And it would be very, very interesting divergence, because in this case, we know that no matter what, one of those decisions pays off. Both of them have a chance to pay off, but one of them definitely has to pay off.
Well, there could be a D-Mist at the package gating a massive chain that leads to multiple objectives. Technically, there could be a D-Mist at package gating, I think, just about every other objective.
Actually, have either of our runners checked the Mist Cave and the Watery Pass yet for the bosses?
I'm not sure.
I don't think either did, because both of them rushed straight underground right at the start, and I don't think either of them have ever been back. So
yeah. No, now that I think about it, I don't think anyone has checked the waterfall or mist cave. That's another 2 options for demist.
Oh, I almost wonder in Nightdew's shoes where you know that you are blocked behind either something strange going on with the package or Magus Sister spot, the Fey March, or the whale. If you're more inclined to check the package than Peasants was when he got his.
I'm not sure I would commit to a package check yet in these runners' case, especially since the Fey March we know is relatively kind. But I definitely would not put it past Nightdew to do a little bit of boss checking of Mist Cave and the Waterfall, because those are very quick boss checks. But it does look like Nightdew is at least going to head over to the Mist area. And is going to check the Mist Cave boss first. And we have Vanilla Demist.
Oh, that is very interesting. Now, if you're Nightdew, do you fly over, run in, check Demist, and then run back out and go wherever that leads? Or just keep running and see what's behind that package at the same time?
I'd save scum the package character maybe, but does look like Nightdew is flying over the village, because with the package you can't get to Demist without triggering the package cutscene from the west side of the village, so we will see what this Demist has in store for Nightdew as Peasants is gearing up to take on the Dimps, and that is an adamant. That's another half of an objective.
Half an objective, but no progress. So progress still gated behind either Fey March or the Moon.
Indeed, and we take that character. That's a foo. Checking package definitely value.
This is not a very good situation for Peasants right now, because Nightdew with a Foo is going to have way easier of a time clearing that Moon if he decides to go there, and if this Fey March does not pay off, and he's spent this time down there and does not go back to this package, that could be a big problem.
Indeed. For Peasant's sake, I have to hope that he goes to Mist to at least check the package character and the Mist Cave boss before heading up to the Moon.
Yeah, and if he doesn't, the absolute worst case scenario in my mind right now is what if this package boss ends up being a Rubicant and a spoon for the Dark Imps fight.
Peasants does still have that Edward available up on Mount Hobs.
Do you commit to raising an Edward 40 minutes in, though, is the question here.
I'm not sure. I think it might be a little bit late. If I had the Edward in my party already, absolutely I take Spoonward and use him to the best of my ability for the rest of the seed, but at this point, any new character is kind of tough to take. Except Foo. Foo is just really easy to take. At any point. Smapey, you forgot to randomize this again.
Is this even? Well, very quick officer-soldier fight for a Foo is a good trade, at least. Not necessarily the Rubicant you might have been hoping for, but definitely the officer and soldier fight that we deserve in this point.
You know, we just don't need to randomize the first 2 bosses of the game. That's fine. They can be the same. And yeah, that's about what I expected from Night 2, ditching that Rydia for the Foo. Rydia, as much as I love her as a character, not the most useful in the randomizer unless you get some of her real high tier summons, as she just doesn't get as much wisdom as Palom, and she takes a lot more experience to get to her real good spells.
Especially when that Fu is already at all of his spells, already has nuke, already good to go. And if you don't want that Fu, then you do have Diet Fu sleeping in the bed if you manage to find a Sand Ruby somewhere and want to go back to Kaipo for him.
No thanks. We don't need Diet Fu. Although it does look like Nightdew, after doing that package stuff, is going to head down to the Fey March, following in Peasants' footsteps, as Peasants is taking on Balnab Z.
I think this is a pretty big advantage for Nightdew because he's going to be able to blast through these fights. Might even finish one of them before Peasants even gets through his at this point in time.
Yeah, Nightdew will be able to just tear through the Dark Imps fight very quickly since Fu has access to Stone, and Stone is a very strong spell that will one-shot the Dimps if it hits. Although Peasants is through the hard part of this fight, Dr. Lugae in his second form, not terribly difficult.
It's always interesting to me how ineffective the second half of the Dr. Lugae fight is within the actual mechanics of the game, where he just poisons you and then fails to inflict other status effects for the entire time. But Palom taking an immediate nap is not necessarily the outcome that Peasants will have been hoping for there.
Yeah, Laser is about the scariest thing that Dr. Lugae can do, and that is an attack based on, I think, 10% of his current HP.
In which case, we're in for a very long fight, because that hit for 1106, and he's not having the best time getting this damage out right now.
Yeah, that was a lot of damage. Beam is nicer because that's just 10% of your HP. That's really doable. And Emission is just Fire 1, so not very scary there. Oh no. Palom is not having a good day on Peasants' screen, but it does look like Nightdew is going with Stone on the Dimps, tearing through it. Peasants did put up a Star Veil on Porum. This is a heads-up play, as Dr. Lugae has no way to get through a Star Veil. And Beam, as you can see, does a bunch of damage back to him.
Yeah, but this is still a very scary spot for Peasants to be in. He kind of needs everything to hit that Porum. Needs to try and keep this Palom alive long enough to get through these Lit 3s and get this Dr. Lugae down, and it's still looking a little bit scary right now.
Yep. Lit 3 not the best thing to use against Dr. Lugae, as Dr. Lugae, well, you might think he's weak to lightning because he's a machine. He is not actually weak to lightning, he is just a machine, so Lit 3 just doing its normal damage, and it does look like Peasants is switching over to Quake, which is a faster spell that will do probably more damage per amount of time.
Well, he is through, so we're about to see what the reward is for this, and it will be a Crystal Sword.
That's very nice for the Cecil we don't have. But otherwise, other than these basically ultimate weapons for Cecil and Edward, Fey March is haunted.
Fey March is haunted, and all 5 objectives are locked behind the moon.
Yeah, so I think you know what that means.
We're going to the moon?
Are we going to the moon?
I think
it's
we're
time
going
to go to the moon.
Yeah, it's time to go to the moon. But it's time for Peasants to check this package and see that Fu first.
Peasants, please check Mist Cave while you're here. Please. Peasants is checking package first. Getting the Foo, which will be good. We'll see if he remembers Mist Cave.
I gotta feel like if you're gonna check Mist Cave, you do it before doing package, so I am quite concerned by this.
I mean, I have definitely done these checks the other way around, because you usually don't think you're going to take the package character, because most characters are not worth a package check. Foo is worth a package check.
Gotta think at this point in time, only Foo and Cecil and Rosa for the objective are worth a package check.
Yeah, that'd probably be about it.
Meanwhile, on Nightdew's side, his mop is taking a nap right now.
Yeah, and not a floor-respecting nap, just like a regular nap.
I mean, that's good. At this point in time, he'll have been doing his best for a couple fights now. He deserves a little bit of rest here and there.
Yeah. He needs to get a little bit of sleep. But Nightdew's already gotten through a lot more HP in this fight, as the laser comes out for only a bit of damage on that Kayn. Kayn surviving it easily. Nightdew is through the Fey March, and essentially is up a little bit of this package check and that Mist Cave check.
Yeah, of course, if you never find the Legend Sword, then it ends up not mattering if Peasants found that Mist Cave check or not. So there's still a chance that ends up not mattering for him long term, but right now, it's kind of a bad spot.
Yeah, I mean, we could just find a Twin Harp and a Hook and a Rubicant and a Rosa and be fine, but we could also not. To answer question in chat, there has not been a waterfall check to my knowledge.
Imagine if Peasants doesn't check the Mist Cave, but checks the waterfall and there's a Rubicant there, because that's a really interesting situation. They basically tied, except Nightdew has to find the Legend Sword.
That would be real spicy.
Both literally and figuratively.
But it does look like Peasants is going to go in and peek this bed character, showing us that it is indeed Tella. And no, we don't care about Tella. I mean, we can't get him now, but he can probably stay in that bed.
He needs his rest too.
Yeah, Tella needs sleep.
And speaking of needing rest... Sorry, go ahead.
Peasants is checking the D-Mist.
While Nightdew's doing this walk and Peasants is checking this D-Mist, why not, if you have a chance, check out our Final Fantasy IV Free Enterprise ladder starting next week as well. You can find information of that at FF4FE as well as in our Discord. Hope you're willing to join up and have some fun racing with us, because super excited for that.
Oh goodness, ladder is definitely going to be exciting. Minor optimization here by Peasants is able to walk in the left side of the village because you've already done the package. There's no package cutscene now.
So realistically, Peasants is just behind this flight to the moon and also has gained the amount of time that it takes to not fly over Mist.
Yeah, Peasants is just behind by essentially the flight to the moon and the walk down the lunar subterranean.
It's looking like he's going to go raise the hovercraft, which, seems like a smart move if you got that rat tail and pink tail that you're probably going to end up turning in before the end of the seed. Might go check the watery pass afterwards, too.
Yeah, I think that this has to be a play into immediately checking the watery pass. And did we get another vanilla boss?
I think we did. I don't like this vanilla boss all that much, but I suppose with the Quake caster in your Fu, it's probably gonna be pretty easy.
And that is just a sparkle at the waterfall. That's an Ogopogo, which I'm sure Peasants is happy to know that he doesn't have to deal with later, but not the value you were looking for.
I think Peasants is a little bit trying to figure out what the next move is here. Maybe not quite sure about whether or not it's a moon play next, but looking like he's going to head up to Mount Hobs and grab that Edward now.
Yeah, this looks like a play for a Spoonward.
That's interesting to me, because it does feel quite late to be taking an Edward unless his plan is just, okay, full-on anchoring time. It's going to get rid of that Quorum for it.
I mean, Fu can be your white mage.
Fu is indeed the best kind of white mage, a white mage that also knows nuke.
And to be fair to Peasants' decision here, Edward does not need a lot of levels to do a lot of damage with a spoon.
He does have a lot of tools with that Fu having Blink to keep that Edward alive through some of the scarier boss fights if they happen to be punchy spots instead of casty spots. Will be in a good position, and Nightdew has found a pass in a white shirt in that D-Lunar room.
I mean, that's nice. You don't have to come back to the moon anymore, and I guess it's a t-shirt. We like t-shirts.
You know, you gotta be happy that it is indeed a shirt that you can theoretically wear.
Yeah. But it looks like now Peasants has decided to join Nightdew on the moon.
The spicy question is Peasants going to do top-down moon or bottom-up moon? Because I feel like in this situation, you're almost certainly going to do bottom-up moon. And at this point in time, we'll just be following in Nightdew's footsteps and has to be hoping that he can get through these fights a bit quicker.
Yeah, with this many objectives still on the table, bottom-up moon definitely feels like the play. And hey, look, we have a boss that's in a place that it wasn't in the vanilla game. What is this?
Are you sure this isn't Plague?
I'm pretty sure this isn't Plague.
This is Plague if Plague was, like, stretched out a little bit and had 6 extra arms. But this will be a pretty easy fight for him at this point in time. Octomam can be a bit scary if it gets in the wrong spot and punches you out early, but he's already kind of past the punches you out early point.
Yeah. Octomam not going to be too much of a threat here.
I think the big deciding factor at this point in time is there a key item that stops you from full clearing this moon at this point? I'm not sure there is, outside of, you know, literally finding a harp, a hook, and a legend sword, but there might be. Oh, speaking of harps.
Hey, that's a harp. Well, I do have to say, even if we do find the harp, a hook, and the legend sword, that might not be go mode.
True, because at that point in time, you still have to find that Rosa or Rubicant. None of those, well, I guess Hook unlocks a character spot, so it could be go mode on that front. If you see Rubicant on the Hook route, then obviously that's also go mode, but you know what? That could actually still be a bad thing, and we could still have something nasty like a hard required giant or a deeply buried earth crystal with vanilla Rosa or something like that.
For sure. But it does look like a Nightdew is going to continue with this moon dive. I mean, if you have the pass, I feel it's very easy to just commit to this full moon dive. You've got your way back to Zeromus at the end of the seed. So if you can clear out the bottom of the moon especially, you can save yourself having to walk down the lunar subterrane more than once, which is very nice. And we do have a free boss here at the Masamune altar in the form of the Baron Guards.
Free and already over with that stone at this point in time, so very quick fight for Nightdew. Have to imagine it'll also be a very quick fight for Peasants unless he wants to try and do the life glitch on one of those, and a Baron key for that, so that's an interesting pickup.
That is 2 more bosses and another character check and 2 more key item checks, but there's a Golbez there. Golbez is rude.
Golbez is rude and Golbez is slow no matter what, but Nightdew exiting from here, does that mean that he's just going to go ahead and fade that Crystal Sword altar at this point in time?
I think it might mean that. Yeah, it looks like Nightdew is happy with what he's pulled off of this moon. Happy with the Twin Harp and the Baron Key. The Twin Harp is an objective, so 1 objective guaranteed that could lead to more objectives, and the Baron Key having 2 other checks on the moon or back on the blue planet. Fading Crystal Sword Altar, Murasame Altar, and Cave Bahamut. So leaving 3 checks behind, but there's 3 checks on the blue planet, and blue planet checks are slightly more valuable than moon checks.
3 checks on the blue planet, 1 of them is an objective, and 1 of them has a chance at that 4th objective as well. I can see the logic behind it. I'm a little bit surprised that he left that Crystal Sword altar down there, which is a little bit isolated, but might just be thinking, I'm not going to ever have a situation where I'm going to need that. I might as well just go. If I have to go back to the moon, I can quickly burst my way through Cave Value and burst my way through that Murasame altar.
It does look like he is going to peek this waterfall boss that he left behind before doing anything else, and just a sparkle there, or just the Ogo. Ogopogo is not value.
Yeah, unfortunately, Leviathan's Canadian cousin going to be left behind here in the waterfall for today, which, you know, it's at least a fitting environment for him. He'll be nice and happy there. But Nightdew is going to head and give us music very soon here.
Yes, this is my favorite check in Free Enterprise, and I'm sure many other people's as well, because we have a selection of a number of random harp tunes that Edward gets to play as we do this check, which is why we made it an objective in this tournament, so that we could get all the harp tunes.
Yep, and again, I want to give a happy birthday shout out to Calamity, who's done a lot of the work on these harp tunes as well, and also a shout out to you, Xenocat, because I believe you've contributed a few to the pool as well.
I only have like 8 or 9. Calamity's done many more than I have. Also, once again, happy birthday to Calamity. It is his birthday today.
Yeah, and again, if you weren't there at that 8 p.m. race, first of all, after this is done, go watch it if you can. It was an amazing race. And secondly, a couple buried birthday surprises in there that are also very neat to see if you want to see some of the newer things that we've added in, including a very, very good birthday music added in, especially for that seed.
Yes. Do watch that race after this one, if you have not seen it already. But once this cutscene fight wraps up on Nightdew's side, we will be quiet and let you all hear the Spoony Bards rockin' tunes.
And while we have a moment before that, I do want to point out that Peasants has decided to take a little bit of the slower approach to this guards fight, and it does life glitch one of them for that extra experience, so going to get a little bit of an advantage there. But it's music time. I'm going to go ahead and be quiet.
I could not talk over that amazing music. I believe that's from Mega Man.
Chat was saying it's from Mega Man 2 specifically, a few different things. Oh, a legend sword at this Twin Harp altar, so this is paid off for Nightdew.
Yeah, for sure. And oh, peasants. Oh no.
Yeah, it's looking like Peasants is going to take a wipe to the Steel Lunar altar. Bit unfortunate there. But one thing I do want to point out about Peasants is that he has 10 key items taking on this altar, and Nightdew did not. And this altar has a lot of experience behind it.
Yeah, Peasants is going to get an extra 100,000 experience from this altar alone just because of having that 10 key item bonus.
In some ways, I almost feel like that wipe there doesn't matter just because of the sheer force of that 100,000 experience, probably putting Peasants into a better spot to just head straight into the Z fight once he's done here. Nightdew, speaking of ways to go straight in, shrinks his party down and is going to head in and deal with that Golbez inside Baron Castle.
Yeah, this is a real heads-up play, knowing Golbez is at that Baiken spot. Putting size on all of the party members so that they can't be affected by Golbez's hold status at the start of the fight.
Yeah, and because of that, it allows you to put a Star Veil or whatever you might want to do, even just if you think you can just bop him on the nose and knock him out real quick at the start of the fight, which probably not happening at this spot, but basically makes this fight free. It's kind of already a bit free before, but definitely free now.
Yep, this should be not pretty much a non-issue of a Golbez fight. And we see... Oh, Peasants! Oh, this is... Ooh, Peasants clutching out that duo in his fight. Only getting the 200,000 experience on that Palom, but that's probably the best person to get it on.
Yeah, I mean, if you're going to get it on anyone in this party, you might as well get it on the person who's probably going to be your biggest target to level up if you're going to do a serious grind later on. So that was a scary moment, but another important thing to note here is Peasants is going to be cabining here, which tells me that he's about to head up to that Crystal Sword altar.
Yeah, Peasants will be forging a little bit of new ground. We do know that that Twin Harp check is double required, but I can't imagine Peasants will leave it behind for long once he decides to leave the moon. So the real question is, will Peasants find extra value at this Crystal Sword altar or not? Although it does look like he is doing a little bit of a grind first. With the Dragoon Spear in hand, this is a very reasonable play.
Yeah, with that Hourglass, this will be... I'm kind of thinking he might only pop this one Siren and then go from there at this point in time. So that'll be a pretty quick way of getting quite a bit of XP. I think he got the double life glitch on that too.
He did indeed. That's going to be 240,000 experience from this King Ryu grind.
You know, if you consider that Peasants is going to be led into that Harp once he gets back to Earth no matter what, this could actually start swinging in Peasants' favor, especially if that hook is up on the moon. But that's a blue robe, and that is King Water Hag, not King Gauntlet, unfortunately.
Aw, I was really hoping for like 13 monsters in a trench coat on the Baron throne, but just a Water Hag. And Nightdew doesn't even have the Edward.
You know, it's the true false king here. The true false king isn't who's hiding at King at the Baron King spot. It's when you get Water Hag below the blue robe here.
Looks like Nightdew was, or Peasants was considering heading into this Crystal Sword altar fight, but decided might want one more of these fights.
This is a little bit more dangerous because he doesn't have an Hourglass for this one.
Yeah, Fu goes down. That's probably okay. Edward being unhelpful and running away instead of life glitching. But Nightdew has found Cecil.
Well, you know what I said about peasants maybe having a little bit of an advantage from going here? I'm not sure with Crystal Sword Cecil going bird that's the case anymore.
I mean, it is a little bit late for Cecil. We've already been to the moon. But Crystal Sword Cecil does also go burr.
I think a lot of it is going to end up coming down to what these key items are, both on the moon still, where Peasants is, and what we're about to see at this lovely pot beside Baron Castle, and it is a crystal shield, so that's whiff number one.
Yep, no value there. I mean, it's a shield.
It is indeed a shield that you can equip to your Cecil, and that Cecil with a power shirt, I mean, even at level 1 with 200 plus attack power here.
Yeah, he is going to do some work, and that is not a pleasant fight.
It's not a pleasant fight, but I think it's a fight that he should be fine for here, as long as this gets off on the cane. Oh, and a high roll onto the foo. I think that's it.
You know, I think Peasants is going to just dive right back into this, not worry too much about this. And hey, you know how we just got a Crystal Sword Cecil? This boss is
King Dark Elf.
Yeah, this Dark Elf is not going to have fun.
It's a bit of a Final Fantasy 1 deep cut, isn't it? When you have the Dark Elf pretending to be a king in the bottom of a castle. Isn't that just basically the Western Keep in Final Fantasy 1?
I suppose it is. Looks like Peasants is opting to get Edward a little bit more experience here at the Dark Knight fight. This makes sense. Palom is looking to be right around nuke level anyway.
Answering the question in chat, Ruby does not have to be giant. We still have a lot of potential road to run on this seed in terms of bosses, so it's not quite in full required giant hype mode yet, but it is looking scary. Oh, and Avenger, so this is definitely the Cecil Castle.
Yeah, this castle has just turned this party into Crystal Sword Cecil go burr.
I do like the symmetry of that a little bit. You get the crystal shield from the first spot, and then you go to the second spot, and you get the incentive to not have a shield on your Cecil.
But this does mean that Baron Castle is completely haunted in terms of progression.
I think this means Nightdew has to go back to the moon.
Could be very valuable. Yeah, I think Nightdew does have to go back to the moon at this point. We'll stop by and forge real quick. Just forge that Excalibur and check Coco's shop out, but we'll have to go back to the moon, and the value could be behind the pan that Peasants has found at the Crystal Sword altar, or it could be behind one of these other two checks.
That is the key question right now, isn't it? Does Crystal Sword Cecil with an Avenger go burr outweigh the fact that Peasants has stayed on this moon and taken these 2 to 3 extra checks, hasn't gone to cave value yet, that we know at least one of them has to be required?
Well, we found Plague.
He's just kind of there. He's not a threat.
Plague it's just gonna go bloop bloop bloop. That's what he does.
I always like that sound effect, so I like getting this fight even if it's slow, because I kind of like that little as it just continues doing the same thing over and over again. It's kind of relaxing almost in a way in its repetitiveness.
Yep, and it does look like Peasants does have nuke on Palom, so that's going to be pretty big for him going through some of these fights on the moon.
Yeah, I gotta think that he's gonna get through this Plague fight before this current 10 count is even up, and Nightdew is gonna give us our first peek at cave value.
Especially with Kane swinging for 3,000 damage. Yep, that's Plague. Plague is gone. And that, hey, do you want to tell her?
No. Next question.
Too bad. You got you have access to a Tella.
So either that pan is required or this cave value check is required, and we're about to see what it is with Nightdew on his way walking up to it, and it is a Yang.
This is free for Nightdew, but would be really rude for Peasants. But it does look like Peasants has decided to fade cave value.
If you wanted a seed that's going to swing back and forth, if this pan check does not give you access to that hook or Rosa or Rubicant, and this cave value check does, it's just swung back into Nightdew's favor, because I gotta assume that Peasants is going to do Baron before he goes back to the moon.
Probably. It does look like Peasants is prioritizing the harp check. This makes sense. This is an objective. We like to see music again, but that is just a glass hat for beating Yang. So we know that Peasants has the value, will not have to go back to the moon.
Where is Rosa and where is Rubicant? Because if I'm one of these runners and I'm an hour and 16 minutes in and I'm like being run around like this and haven't found either one, I'm starting to think, oh no, this is going to be one of those seeds, isn't it?
They could be in the Giant. They could be in the Tower of Zot. They could be in the Hook Route. Rubicant could be in Sealed Cave.
I think that's literally all the possibilities left at this point, so we're going to end up seeing pretty soon once Peasants turns in this pan, which I have to assume he'll do before he does Baron.
The pan is a much faster check, although Baron could, in his mind, give him a Rosa, which would be very valuable. It's tough to say. Although Nightdew will have to get all the way back down to that Crystal Sword altar for the pan, so...
But it is time for music round number 2, so I'm going to go ahead and give this another listen because it was very wonderful the first time around.
It was indeed. And that is Peasants through this Twin Harp check, getting his Legend Sword, which will complete his Objective 1, and very shortly his Objective 2, and I have to imagine he goes... If he goes straight down to the Underground to get Forge done, I have to imagine it's much better routing for him just to stop by and run the pan real quick.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking too in this case. And since we know that objectives 3, 4, and 5 are potentially gated behind that pan, 4 and 5 could still just be on the giant, or could just have like a Rubicant chilling up at Magus Sisters where he could have been all along. I gotta think that this puts Peasants back in the driver's seat, although Nightdew only has that Crystal Sword altar left.
Yeah, Nightdew will... Peasants is back in the driver's seat, I think, as long as he continues to fade Baron and gets the value before having to go through Baron Castle.
Yeah, especially as this gets later and later and it gets harder to justify picking up that Cecil.
Yeah. I do think the Baron check will take much longer than the Dark Knight Cecil, but Nightdew will be clearing through checks a little bit faster because of that Crystal Sword Cecil, although Spoonward and Dragoon Spear Cane are doing some work.
I feel like the only real downside right now is the fact that we're kind of running out of those bosses that Dragoon Spear is going to be super, super, super effective against. I think only Pale Dim is still left in the pool that hits a weakness on.
Yeah. We do find just an Artemis bow from the Sylphs, so it does look like Sheila is going to have all of the goods.
What's the worst case scenario here? Lugae into Earth Crystal into Hook, and then Giant still required afterwards, the true 100% seed?
Yeah, I think a Lugae here just is bad for Peasants in general, because I think a Lugae might drive Peasants into Baron Castle.
Yeah, I gotta definitely agree in that Earth Crystal would be more of a, yeah, oh, there's the Earth Crystal. I think he's probably gonna head straight to Zot from here.
The Earth Crystal, I would say, is definitely much more tempting. That it's only one character check, but there's 2 bosses there that we don't know, 2 key item, or 2 character checks there. It's a pretty good chance of finding Rosa at this point. And that key item could very well be the Hook.
Yeah, and in Peasant's mind, you gotta be thinking, you know, okay, I haven't checked Baron Castle yet, but why route Baron Castle before Earth Crystal when I can route Earth Crystal first, and then, hey, I'm already at Baron Castle, I can go straight in from there.
Indeed. Doing this Zot into Baron play is much cleaner routing than the other way around.
Peasants does indeed play a game of Fade that Treasury today instead of Break that Treasury, which, I mean, at this point in time, an hour, 20 minutes in, you gotta feel like you're not going to want to stop for anything. You need to get going and get going fast.
Yeah, we don't have time for the Treasury. But Nightdew is through that crystal, or through that Dark Knight Cecil, has the pan, is leaving this Lunar subterrane having full cleared the moon, and will be hot on Peasants' heels on this chain.
You know, he has the benefit of already doing Baron, and he has the benefit of that Crystal Sword Cecil right now, and if this pays off the wrong thing, then that could be a problem. I feel like if it's a Hook, do you just go check the Hook character, or do you still just try and do Baron and hope there's a Ruby in there?
I peek the Hook character first. Yeah, assuming we don't get a Rosa here. But keep in mind, if we get a Hook and we get either Rosa or Ruby up here, that is go mode.
That is go mode, and I gotta think that Nightdew is going to be a little bit behind, but might have a little bit of a quick time catching up here. This is far from over at this point. This is still pretty up in the air.
Yeah, this is definitely a very close race. But we do find Baiken here at the Magus Sisters spot, so this Earth Crystal is required. You can't get your Rubicant without going through this Earth Crystal unless Ruby happens to be at the Giant, in which case all bets are off.
I feel like if Ruby and Rosa are on the Giant at this point in time, we're in a situation where you were never going to take that. But here's a duplicate Foo for you if you want Foo number 2.
You want 2 Foos?
I don't think you want 2 foos. Do you want 2 foos?
I mean, I would take 2 foos. Chat wants 2 foos. And there it is, Vanilla Rosa. We have Objective 4 located.
The hard required giant is over, unfortunately. Yep. Bye, Edward. Here's foo number 2.
And bye, Rosa. It's too late for you. Unfortunately, peasants did lose the spoon in that ditch of Edward, but that's okay. We don't need the spoon anymore.
You know, I think it's kind of nice, you know, you let Edward have a little bit of a parting gift in that spoon there and go straight into your French Vanilla Magus Sisters fight, knowing that at very least you rewarded him for his hard efforts in the rest of the seed.
This Magus Sisters fight's a little scary. Turns out the Magus Sisters are scarier when they're French Vanilla than when they're Vanilla, but Peasant still gets through pretty smoothly.
It all comes down to what is at this key item spot, because I think if it's not a hook, Peasants is definitely going to be tempted down Baron before that Lugae key.
Yeah, this is just one of those situations where, oh goodness, I don't know. That's a Lugae key. That means we know that the hook is down in the sealed cave. But Peasants is leaving Baron.
Well, I mean, this is going to end up being the play because we know that hook has to be in this Lugae cave at this point in time. So this is Peasants in I don't have everything yet, but this is technically go mode, although he might not necessarily fully realize it.
Yeah, I mean, we do know Golbez was at the Baiken spot, so Peasants might really just not want to deal with Golbez, especially at this point in the seed. This is also a quicker item check, and Peasants has every key item except the hook. So he knows that when he goes down here, this is either the hook or it is not the hook. And it cannot be something that leads to the hook. Other point, Rubicon could still be down here.
Yeah, I mean, it really does depend on the boss at this point, how fast this ends up being for Peasants, because we know that this is the end here.
Yep. Nightdew, meanwhile, getting through this Tower of Zot. Pancrest Peasants has raised his hovercraft. He raised the hovercraft while he was checking the waterfall boss, right before going up to the moon.
Let's see what Nightdew takes for a party here, because do you take foo number 2 here too, or do you just leave foo number 2 behind? Still the big question. Nope, foo number 2 is off the table for Nightdew.
Yep, I guess happy with his party, doesn't need foo number 2. Peasants getting his hook. This puts him into go mode officially at 1 hour and 28 minutes into the seed. Peasants just has to get through this boss. And it's Rubicon! Hard required sealed cave!
So this entire seed was locked behind a Twin Harp on the moon and a Pan at the Crystal Sword altar, blocking 4 objectives.
Yes. Correct. Oh no, they were gating all 5. All 5 objectives were gated behind the White Spear altar and the Crystal Sword altar. With a Vanilla D-Mist helping out, but... And I guess the Fey March freebie chest, but... Those don't count. Those are super available.
Here's the question. How quickly does Nightdew get to the bottom of that Lugae cave and get to that fight and get it clear? Because Peasants is done with it. All he has to do is either turn in that pink tail or forge, depending on whichever he thinks is going to be faster.
Indeed. I would say forge might be faster because he's right there, but also pink tail's not terribly out of the way. I don't know. They're both so fast.
I mean, do you take the pink tail on the off hopes that it might be something which gets you a bit more speed than the Excalibur does, too? And the tail's kind of on the way to the pass, as was just pointed out in chat, too, so it's kind of up in the air.
I don't think anything from the pink tail is going to be particularly helpful for Peasants' party, except maybe a second white shirt.
I kind of think like maybe an Avenger Cane might be good too.
That would be helpful as well, I suppose. So I suppose in this case you would do the pink tail turn in. And I guess if you're really desperate, you could also turn in the rat tail at the same time for, you know, another chance at a decent check. But it does look like Peasants has decided to forge.
I mean, might as well. You get to check the shop here. Maybe that helps you a bit more than anything you could get from those other two anyways.
I mean, this is a good point. There is a chance of finding Stardust Rods in here, which would actually be huge for Peasants' party. Sadly, no Stardust Rods.
He's going to do some selling here, so looking like he's going to pick up some stuff.
Yeah, but Nightdew has that hook and is hot on Peasants' heels.
This might actually be quite close getting in here because I don't think this Rubicant fight is going to take that long, and Peasants has all four of his objectives now.
Ruby being rude and knocking down Palin. Classic Ruby.
Well, Peasants is on his way to the Z fight at this point in time. Nightdew gonna be a little bit behind, but going to be doing some catch up right now. It's looking like Peasants gonna do a little bit of shopping first.
Yeah, this is going to be very close. Buying some Star Veils. I think was out of Star Veils. So yes, Star Veils are important for Reflect strats, because this is looking like a very Reflect seed.
This Ruby fight's going a little bit slow because that Palom got knocked out early on in this fight, so through it now, gonna be a little bit behind going into this fight, and I am seeing a lot of the Z flags in chat.
Yeah, there's a lot of flags. Do you want to explain what those mean, Ent?
I sure do. Way back in the distant past, there was a question of where can you put Zeromus in this randomizer? That's fair. And the answer is at the end. That's it. So it's not fun to just leave Vanilla Zeromus in place where he is, where he's always been. So now we're up to 526 sprites in the pool with a 527th that premiered on the earlier race. Hint, hint, go watch that after this one. That could be behind the Z flag, which does lead to a question if you'd like to ask it tonight.
I sure will. I believe that question is, whose butt are we gonna kick tonight?
It is going to take a little bit to get there. He is ready to go with that. Nightdew hot on his heels, just doing the warps out of Sealed Cave now, is out of it. Gonna be a couple of minutes behind at this point in time, so might be banking on Peasants having a little bit of a rough Z fight at this point, but is still going to be very, very fast through this.
To answer a question from chat, yes, the chance for Sephiroth is still approximately 1%. That has not changed.
Shoutouts to Scala Kitty for both her wonderful work on a lot of the Z Sprite pool. Not quite all of it, but I would say definitely most of it at this point. And for keeping that 1% Sephiroth chance in place.
Yes. The trouble with adding a lot of Z sprites is that the more Z sprites there are, the less likely each one is. So, you know, it's nice to know that there's still a 1% chance of Sephiroth. But that is not Sephiroth. That is Anima from Final Fantasy X.
I like that sprite. I have not seen that one before. That's actually wonderful.
Yeah, it's very well done.
On the is this cute thing?
I don't think it's cute.
Yeah, probably not.
Love the sprite, not cute.
Also want to point out, as was pointed out by our tracker Scythe Marshall in chat, he did put in the Final Fantasy X comedy pre-race objectives, so this is a nice full circle that we have going on here.
Yep. I think our tracker secretly knew what the Z-Sprite was going to be all along.
I find that a bit of foreknowledge does help with a lot of tracking.
It certainly does.
So we are seeing these sort of reflect strats coming in on Peasant's side. Nightdew getting that counter nuke, unfortunately landing on that Fu, but does survive it pretty fine. This is going to be an interesting finish no matter what at this point in time, as they're both rushing through this fight at breakneck speed.
Yeah, this is extremely close. Both runners having finished the same 4 objectives with access to that 5th objective.
You know, I feel like there's 2 different tests of real, true skill in this randomizer. One is the absolute jet seed, and one is the grueling 17 out of 17 seed. So that just shows exactly how evenly matched these 2 runners have been this entire time, that they're both in this fight and extremely close together at this point.
Yeah, they're... oh my goodness. The nukes are flying.
Yep, Fu number 2, as pointed out by Pankers in chat, is running a bit low on MP over on Peasant's side, so that might end up causing a little bit of a problem, might slow it down a little bit, although I'm seeing that Peasants did pick up a few Ether too, so that'll help out with that. It's an extremely tense final fight. Peasants sitting there at those 500 HP, but pretty safe. Gonna get that Cure 4 off. Big Bang coming out over on Nightdew's side. Does have his Palom and his Porum go down. So that's a little bit rough, but Crystal Sword Cecil still doing Crystal Sword Cecil things, so still just chipping away 6.5k at a time.
I mean, 6.5k is nothing to sneeze at. That's a lot of damage for a Zerker. A Black Hole coming out on Peasants' side. I don't think Kain is going to make it.
You know, sometimes sacrifices need to be made here.
Yeah, Kain has been microwaved. But we have more Star Veils, and just put up another Star Veil, keep going.
Yep, another Big Bang coming out over on Nightdew's side. Cure 4 already queued up to heal up both Fu and Cecil, the only 2 survivors, so really just relying on Crystal Sword Cecil go burr at this point. Black Hole not going to matter because I believe he does have that Avenger, so Cecil will just immediately re-berserk and keep swinging away.
Yep, oh, that Fu does not have enough MP for nuke. So queuing up a virus, the Big Bang coming out.
counter nuke over on Nightdew's side, going on to Cecil. Cecil down to 200 health. Rocks coming out. This could be a very, very dangerous situation for Nightdew.
Oh
down
my
goes
goodness.
Cecil.
Peasants getting down to just 3 characters, super low on health, healing up, putting up the Star Veil.
Can this cast?
It's just Fu on Nightdew's side.
Gonna drop that life 2 onto Cecil to mark this out. Nuke's still coming out over on Peasant's side. This is really coming down to the wire here.
Yep. There's a flash on Peasant's screen. But Cecil takes one more swing for Nightdew, and there's the flash on Nightdew's screen as well. This has been, oh my goodness, this extremely close race.
Oh god, good for Smitey. Put it in the thing that actually matters. Hi everyone. If you know that, if you're hearing my voice, you know that this means that I have been called in to review this. Because everyone is too good and too well paired.
Yeah, oh my goodness.
So I'm going to let y'all interview the runners. I will be ducking out of the box here, and we'll be right back to verify some things. So y'all hang tight.
That was Scala letting us know that, yes, this is too close. We will have to review it, but, or rather, she will have to review it. But in the meantime, it looks like we are joined at least by Nightdew.
Hello.
GG's on that exciting race.
Yeah, wow. What was that seed?
And now we're joined by Peasants as well. GG's to both of you. Oh my goodness.
GG Nightdew.
Yeah, very much. I'm shaking now. I was shaking probably from like an hour 20, and we barely have objectives. And what is going on here?
I told you at the
Yeah. So what?
I told you at the start.
What did you think about that triple required Tower of Zot?
Oh, gotta love it.
Oh man. Yeah, it's. I think my practices were telling me something earlier in the day. It's like. Well, I had a double required Zot earlier this morning, and it's like, maybe I shouldn't fade Zot. And I'm like, I didn't even fade Zot. It was just forever,
No.
You know, it was just way down the line.
Yeah, this was a very interesting seed where the seed gave you half of 2 objectives and then decided, no, we're going to hide everything else behind 2 altars on the moon.
Yep.
Now, speaking of those 2 altars on the moon, a question I want to ask you both, and I'll sort of go to each of you in turn on this. Nightdew, you checked those first 3 altars down at the bottom of the moon, found the Baron Key, found the Twin Harp, and then left. What was your thought process there?
Thought process is I was running kind of low on key item checks. And honestly, I had one objective in my pocket with the Twin Harp. I'm thinking, okay, you know, I find a boss, I find, you know, Rosa, and, you know, we have a character check down here, and we're running low on character checks, too. So I'm thinking, okay, this is at the point where let's just dive down and see what it is. I have to do Twin Harp anyway, and maybe it's a little, like, recency bias or what have you, but when it comes down to it, I've been finding a lot of double required Twin Harps, which this one was. Baron just completely struck out.
And on Peasant's side, sort of the same question to you. In your case, you stuck out that moon the entire time through. What was your thought process behind, okay, I'll just stay up here and finish out the whole thing?
I had 0 objectives done, and the only thing I had that wasn't like Twin Harp was Baron, and I wasn't gonna go do Golbez. I goddamn hate that boss. So wanted to get a bit more up there. Got Pan, and then got Sand Ruby, and was like, okay, Pan's good enough. I'll leave. And it was good enough. But yeah, I think I was like 117 when I got my first objective, which was not a good feeling. Not ideal, I would say.
Yeah, the objectives were, I mean, as we said, they were all gated by that moon. So. Yeah, GG's to both. I think the only routing differences we really saw, other than Nightdew, you went to, I believe, Dwarf Castle early, where Peasants went to Ordeals early, and then you both cleaned up the other person's check after the Tower of Babel.
Yeah, I decided we found, oh yeah, when we went to the moon, that's when we found sirens. I'm like, okay, you know, I've got the beginnings of a reflect party here. I'm gonna scramble some eggs. I have a couple coffins. Let's just get those. We have a tower key. We'll roll through Dwarf Tower and see where we get after that. And we didn't really get anywhere after that.
Yeah. There was a lot of nothing on the blue planet.
And it was a magma key start. I think every single one of my races have been like magma key, either Antlion or start. Stop doing it to me. I can't do it anymore.
Yeah, definitely. There's a lot of stress that goes into having, you know, the entire world blown open for you 15 minutes into the seed.
It keeps happening.
Yeah, it was very open, but it turns out everything was in the same two places.
Yeah.
Yep. I mean, we got to, at the very least, we at the very least got to give a show after that. So, I mean, it was fun, and we'll calm down a little bit, get a lot of good sleep tonight, and there we go.
Indeed. Any other things that you want to ask, Ent?
No, that was about it for me.
Yeah, really well run. Any final thoughts from the runners before we let Scala come in here with her announcement?
I'll add in that my Z fight was abysmal. It was very, very bad, and I think there's a lot of, like, in these kind of races, there's like, how can I have saved literally 3 seconds? Like, it could have been anywhere, but on that Z fight, I think I would have lost probably at least 50 to a minute kind of thing, 50 seconds to a minute.
I'm
just
counting the ways in my head already.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, just I probably should have just went straight nuke, don't worry about healing, and it probably would have been fine, but I don't know, was nervous, and I was an RO1 or for a nuke party, which I haven't done in quite a while, and so it made me quite nervous, especially with how I was assuming that we had pretty similar routing, which we did, so it was going to be close either way.
All right, well, thank you very much, both of you. GG's on a very well-run race, and we do have Scala in here to give us the results of the review, I believe.
Yep. So I went back in, I retimed everything based on the VODs, and based on the VODs and on the... Sorry, let me start over. The VODs match the RaceBot recorded times, so we are going to have those be our official times for the tournament, which means that Peasants has won with an official time of 1 hour, 39 minutes, and 15 seconds. Nightdew coming in second place with a time of 1 hour, 39 minutes, and 21 seconds. So that was a 6-second difference.
Well played.
Oh, yeah, GG. I thought it was going to be a tie. That's, yeah.
Ties
GG.
are 3 seconds for Free Enterprise.
I thought I misread it. I thought we were both. Oh, okay, yep. That's my bad. I thought it was literally like 20 milliseconds that I won by when I checked the race bot. That's why I was like, whoa. Okay.
So GG's to you both for an absolutely amazing race and for capping off a night that has been nothing but amazing races. And I wish you both nothing but the best in the brackets.
Yeah, it's definitely great that we can fall back on that. The 4-2s are going to be interesting, but yeah, after a seed like that, I can only tip my hat to Peasants. That was absolutely kind of nuts, honestly.
Yeah, it was quite a seed. GG, Nightdew.
Yes.
Yes, GG's to both of you on a very, very close race and a very well-run race by both of you.
Thank you.
Yep,
Thank you so much, GG.
And I think that is about going to wrap us up tonight. So for those of you who tuned in from 8 o'clock to now, or just tuned in from now, you know, two races, sort of both alike in dignity, so to speak here. Very close races, both of them tonight. Very well run by both of our runners in the end. 6 seconds is the closest I've seen so far that wasn't a tie, so pretty exciting race there. Any final words from you, Xenocat?
Nope, just want to say this was a phenomenal race to watch. So close the whole time. Both of our races tonight have been amazing. I'm really trying to plug that 8 p.m. race as well, but if you haven't seen that one. But yes, this race is also amazing. Peasants, go ahead.
Sorry, just want to add in that my last race was a 8-second win. Oh, sorry, yeah, an 8-second win. This was a 6-second win. So my next race, I'm going to be a 4-second win. I'm just going to keep incrementally going down.
Well, then I guess you only have one more win in you.
Yep.
And then we get 3 ties in a row.
Yeah, that's all I got in me.
Oh goodness.
And if you want to have a 6, 8, or 4-second win of your own, make sure you drop by as well. Starting next week, the Final Fantasy IV Free Enterprise ladder. More information can be found at FF4FE ladder.com as well as in the Discord. And I want to give another quick shout out, first of all, to both of our runners for the very close race they ran tonight, as well as to our restream team of Smapedy rolling a incredibly intense to run seed for both of our runners tonight, as well as Scythe Marshall for the excellent job tracking as always. I have been Ent, and we're going to be sending you over to Calithon, which is hosting a marathon of Calithon Presents Stand Strong, benefiting Stop API Hate. So make sure you stay tuned for the raid over to there, and thank you all for watching tonight.
Yep. See you over there.